Hi, and welcome to another episode of WolfeSound podcast. Today, we're going to continue on the conversation under the headline of the soul, big subject. And I want to address, as promised, the topics of wounded healers, toxic positivity, and toxic healing. Because in order to reach balance and proper healing, we also have to make sure that we're not turning it into some kind of addictive poison that we keep on drinking. At some point, we have to deal with things, but also release them and reach that state of peace and acceptance with it so that we can create new things in life. We don't want to live every single day replaying old tapes until we die. That's a waste of life, and that's not the purpose of problems and pain in this life. So pain will happen. Suffering long term is definitely optional, and sometimes it's near impossible to let it go, because some people go through some serious pain and suffering, especially when you lose a loved one, in a gruesome way as well. So we can't really tell people who have gone through such great loss to just deal with it and move on. They need their time, and we have to respect the time. Every person grieves in their own way. So it's very important to give people that space and not to dictate their schedule. However, the point is that I want to give you tools that at your own pace to use in order to deal with that grief and not turn it into suffering that becomes irreversible. Hi, Santiago. Okay, so wounded healers. I trust healers who have been wounded and they become healers afterwards, meaning that they turn their wounds into wisdom. And not only that, they share it with others. People who have gone through so much in life are the people that taught me the most. They were generous enough to share their story. And we get to heal when we share our story, and as much as we get to heal when we help somebody else, especially during the problem. A lot of times I noticed that because I was a coach, I was a coach myself, and sometimes during the span of a certain period, I'd be going through a very rough time that I barely wanted to get out of bed. But I did, because I had a job to do, and I had to meet the expectations of those who trusted me. So I'd get up, and all of a sudden, the moment that I start teaching, it's as though there was nothing wrong. And it wasn't even me pretending that was nothing wrong. I genuinely forgot about it, because my entire focus was on somebody else and their journey and what they needed from me, and I had to deliver that. So the commitment to this is in itself healing. So try it out. If you're going through a rough time, reach out to somebody who might need help. Instead of just going for advice, go and see who you can help today, and watch yourself heal as a byproduct. Because when you do that, you actually, the moment we are helping somebody else or teaching even in a classroom, whatever we say to the other person, there's this, as though the divine voice comes through to help you help this person, because you're thinking of service, you're thinking of something bigger than yourself, other than yourself. And when you do that, you end up listening as well. The teacher is a student. The teacher is somebody who is consistently learning by way of teaching others. It's not about reading and passing on information. It's much deeper than that. So try it out. Acts of service. It's beautiful. It's healing. So sometimes we would go to therapists, and some of them have read the books very well. They graduated with high degrees, but they didn't have the life experience of the people sitting in front of them seeking their help. So they give guidance based on books and cliches. And then you have these therapists who actually have such deep empathy and such rich life experience that they're able to relate to you and connect with you and guide you in such a way that is actually not only applicable but uh, transformative. And that's why there's good therapists and not so good therapists. And it's not because of their academic status or anything like that. It's because when you're talking to other people who and you're trying to hold space for them, the books are not enough. We have to actually either have gone through something similar, or we know exactly what it feels like to have to go through loss or grief or whatever, or we have such deep empathy that we're able to feel their story and to live their story through them and connect with them on that level, as opposed to just sharing cliches and this too shall pass and all these things that we say. It's not enough to help somebody else. So I love wounded healers who happen to be um, healers who have gone through a lot. I don't believe anyone can be a healer unless they've drank the poison themselves. I really don't, because it will be very shallow. Okay, so moving on, it brings me to spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing, it's when uh, we suppress our shadow so much. Like a lot of people turn to spirituality without including the process we need to go through on a psychological level. If we lean too heavily on spirituality without processing our emotions or our traumas, it's gonna it's not even authentic healing. At some point, we're gonna end up the emotions and the pain will catch up with us, and when it does, it gets very, very violent and unnecessary. And the reason for that is because we didn't deal with it at the right time in the right way. So these inner demons, they run our lives when we don't address them or confront them. We can't be scared of them. The artists and alchemists, they know this very well. They are comfortable with their inner demons and the darkness, and they know how to confront it and deal with it and accept that it's there. And once you accept it and shed light on it, it cannot exist because these things only live in the dark. So spiritual bypassing means that you keeping things in the dark where they flourish, but eventually they're going to create civilizations within you and a whole civil war as well. And then it will come out, and that spiritual anchor will be very weak because it was not built on a strong foundation. So let's not get into in our lives spiritual bypassing. I know it's very scary to confront the demons at first, the darkness, the past, the traumas, but it's the most positive thing you can do is to sit for a bit with your shadow, even if you just have to go through this dark night of the soul. It's a rite of passage, so to speak, because the other side, I promise you, is so liberating. Your body feels lighter. Everything you do is lighter. You can achieve success more easily. You can success in the way that you define success. You can be more receptive to love and to friendship. There's so much you would be missing out if you engage in spiritual bypassing. So let's shed some light on that and part of the spiritual bypassing is not letting go. Remember that. And I love the saying, the Buddhistic saying, let go or be dragged. So when we don't let go or we suppress so much and pretend that we're cool and everything is fine, or that everything is in God's hands, sure, if you want to be spiritual, religious, that's completely fine. But you also have to do your part. We can't just sit around and expect something something else to just sort it out on its own. It's not how it works. We have to do our part for our own sake. Now, I'm going to move on to toxic healing. I opened this bit with a quote: "Enough with all the healing. Let us embrace the perfect mess we are." I really believe that, even though, of course, we have to we take the initial shock of a problem or a trauma, and we have to eventually confront it and deal with it and feel the pain, and we deal with the pain. But after that, we have to just let the thing go when after we have processed and dealt with it. So this the acceptance, the act of acceptance is pretty much enough to heal a trauma or to process a certain pain or a loss. Acceptance. A lot of times, if you noticed, or if you dig a little deeper, when past traumas are dictating your present behavior and essentially shaping your future, you will know that it was all about not accepting the past. We have no choice but to accept it because it happened. What's done is done. But we can change the past as well. That's what I want to actually highlight here. We can actually change not only the future, but our past. And the way we change our past is through changing the narrative, changing the story. We're not telling a fake story. What's done is done. We accept that this happened, but our interpretation of it, the meaning we assign to it, can be a much healthier interpretation and more accurate, actually. A lot of times people look at their past and then they start to self-abuse. They say, everybody leaves me. I'm not worthy of connection. I'm not worthy of success or wealth or health or whatever. And that's the tape. But if you actually look at it accurately, first we see this happened. Then we look at why did this happen? Where was my part in it that contributed to this result? Or was it a life lesson that I need to extract something from? But whatever the case may be, whatever happened, I don't care what you went through or what you've done, your worth is not part of the equation. You're worthy no matter what you did. I don't care who the person is. We are inherently worthy. We're inherently worthy in the sense that we are here, we exist, and we have inherent worth. So our worth cannot be tied with our actions or inaction. You know what? Like, you cannot tell somebody they are worthless because they were created and they are here on earth and they have a purpose. Maybe some of us are useless. We don't use our calling, or we don't answer the call, or we don't contribute well. And even then, who knows? Maybe there is a reason for that. But the worth itself, nobody that came into being is worthless. So change the tape of the past. You can change the past by changing the way you look at it, not in a completely fictional manner, but in an accurate manner. Don't beat yourself up. Take the lesson and put the lesson into good use. And even if it's too late to fix something, at least don't repeat it, don't beat yourself up, and maybe talk to others about it so that maybe you save somebody else out there. Okay, so toxic healing says good vibes only. No, we live in a world of duality. I'm sure it's beautiful when we think in terms of non-duality, but non-duality, even to achieve non-duality or transcend this duality means that we embrace both the dark and the light. It doesn't mean we cancel one out, and that's where the toxic positivity is. You need to have, well, I don't know if you need, but it's nice to have genuine, kind empathy. So people come to those who believe in good vibes only. You cannot have a friendship when you prevent your loved ones to trust you and to come to you with their issues. You cannot turn around and say, oh, no, drama, I don't like drama, good vibes only. It's awful, it's callous, it's completely non-empathic, and it makes people very, very sick and alone. And this is the toxic positivity. Toxic healing is different. Toxic healing is when somebody gets addicted to the process of healing themselves. So they move from therapist to therapist, from healer to healer, which is fine. We're going to continue to need healing until the end, right? Because we need each other and we need to process, and life will happen. But to get addicted to something that happened 20, 30 years ago and to continue to process it, especially people that have a tendency to fall into the victim mode. And I fell into that trap before. Like it's kind of like heroin. Somebody abused you, for example, and then somebody explains to you what this abuser really is and what they're about and why they do this, and they kind of recant, not recant, they repeat everything that happened. So they mirror you, they reflect back to you your emotions inside, and then that becomes kind of a painkiller. So you want to hear it over and over and over again. Just like people that get addicted to watching speakers talk about the same topic over and over again, just for them to get validation, because they were so starved of validation from the people in their lives. At some point, we have to say, okay, I get it. Let it sink in, accept it. But then you have to go and make something of your life. We can't keep blaming our parents or that bad person that ruined our lives in some way or tried to. Maybe people would try to destroy you in some sense, but at some point, if you do get destroyed, that's partly a choice, unless you're in a very severe situation I know nothing about, like war zones, but even then, I really believe that there is a power within you, and this divine power that I don't think anyone is capable to overpower that. No one. Although it gets very challenging in some situations, the world is crazy. However, let's not get addicted to the healing as a way of, oh yeah, give me that painkiller so that I get my validation. Because then it becomes very self-destructive. It wastes your time, and you don't get to live out your dreams and goals because you're too busy injecting that heroin, so to speak. So it's very important to release it at some point. Be grateful for the validation, but toxic healing is a thing. So move on. And if you think of you must have somebody in your life that always keeps coming back to you with the same problem over and over and over again. But whatever you tell them, whatever solutions you offer them, and they're not actively trying to resolve it, at some point you're going to be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. We can't spend 7 years talking about the same issue, and whatever solutions I offer you, you just give me another problem of why this solution will not work. Everything under the sun has a solution. Some of them are more complicated than others. Some take more time. Some remain stuck because of like the environment is responsible for so much of our circumstances as well, but it's not a hindrance. There is a way, there is a solution, and it's our job to find it, instead of going into this toxic healing, this cycle, this circular thinking. All right. Okay, so what brings me from toxic positivity, I'm gonna just address very quickly something like the book of The Secret that destroyed the world, or The Vulnerable. Reading The Secret, this person, with all due respect, takes one law when there's 12 laws in the universe. And of all the laws, this person chooses the law of attraction. So a lot of people read this book and bought into it and thought, oh, I'll sit on the couch and manifest everything. Or opportunity will knock at my door. I don't have to do anything. Or no matter how bad things are, everything is great and positive and fantastic. No, sometimes things are not fantastic, and it's okay, because then it's our signal to do something about it. We still have to get off our couch. And if I were to write one book of the laws, of the 12 laws, and just choose one law, at least I would choose the law of radiation. But that's what I call the law of radiation, or the law of vibration. Because this law talks about our part, our responsibility, the part that we need to do in order to be able to attract things. So somebody cannot be a completely useless couch potato and expect things to fall in their lap. Or somebody cannot be a nasty person throughout their lives, but then they're going to use the law of attraction to still whatever. It doesn't work this way. We have to embody the emotion and the energetic field of what we want. So there are 12 laws. Why would somebody pick the law of attraction without mentioning the 11 others? It messed with so many people. And it actually, I believe it's partly why we have this toxic positivity of good vibes only, say only positive things. Yeah, it's nice to say positive things, but we cannot deny the other side of life as well. That's the ultimate positivity, is to look at the darkness and be grateful for the lessons it brings, for the healing it brings. It's an opportunity. It's not a bad thing. It's just an opportunity, and either you take it or you suppress it, and then somebody with toxic vibe only is screaming it in your face. Toxic vibes only, you're so negative, you're so whatever. It's wow. No. So let's go over the 12 laws very quickly. You have the law of divine oneness, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, the law of inspired action. You have to take inspired action in order, before we can even get anything. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, and the law of gender. So what good is the law of attraction if you're going to bypass these 11 others? Okay. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk about receptive mode. I got a little passionate there because it really bothers me with this toxic positivity stuff. It impacted this. We're losing empathy. We're losing friendships. It's people are we going to become robots? it bothered me so much. So I hope you now understand the repercussions on yourself and others if you engage in toxic positivity and toxic healing. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk about receptive mode, how to actually be receptive to the good things that you're asking for in a proper way, and in a way that it puts you in a position, in a better position to actually receive it. So I hope you tune in. Receptive mode, and also I will have another episode on it's a continuation of another episode I did a while back, so it's due on the most dangerous emotions, and some other good stuff that we're gonna talk about very, very soon. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.